Hi, my name is Paris, and today my friend Mitch and I want to tell you about a couple of people we met and a story we heard.
We wanted to learn about HIV and its effects on the brain. We decided to visit one of the department chairs at the Durham Research Center.
Okay, my name is Howard Gendelman. It's spelled Howardgendelman. I'm the chairman of the Department of Pharmacology and Experimental Neuroscience.
Gendelman read us a story that one of his first patients at the medical center wrote.
Okay, HIV dementia. This is a story living with the suffering, the diagnosis, and the uncertainties. My name is Karen, and I have AIDS. Yes, I have AIDS. I don't think they have a cure for that. First of all, I was born and raised in quiet, rural Nebraska. I'm a proud member of one of the most noble professions on earth, education. And up until 3 months ago, I have never missed a day.
AIDS is the disease caused by the human immunodeficiency virus, HIV.
Because HIV, unlike any other pathogen, is a very clever virus. Very clever virus. That means it's like a chameleon. It can escape these antibodies that are directed against it. So essentially, it's a parasite. It can't exist outside the cell for any extended period of time.
Mitch and I learned we have something in common with viruses.
A high school student, which you are right now, you have to live in your parents' home, right? You're not making a living, you're studying, you're growing, you're planning to go to college. You want to be independent, right? But you can't be because your parents are paying for the car, they're paying for the gas, and they're paying for your food, right? So you live like a virus.
We also met Dr. Georgette Camonnier, a researcher at UNMC who looks at HIV effects on the brain. One of Dr. Camonnier's projects focuses on HIV in sub-Saharan Africa.
The region where I come from is not just an epidemic, it affects so many people.
She also has a personal connection to HIV.
The first time it affected me personally, when I was a graduate student in England, I had a colleague in the lab who was sick. His health declined, and when I heard it was really bad, he was already in intensive care unit. At that point, even if you visit him, he could not recognize you because he was at the late stage of dementia. And he died shortly after.
When Camonnier's friend died, she saw firsthand how the brain could be affected by HIV.
The blood-brain barrier is a protective cell coat that surrounds the brain, spinal cord, and it's really meant as a biological barrier that protects the brain against noxious influences.
Camonnier wanted to understand how the virus affects the brain better by studying the blood-brain barrier.
She works specifically on the blood-brain barrier and ways in which HIV can be transmitted from the blood into the brain, as well as working on drugs that will penetrate the blood-brain barrier.
The effects of dementia can be devastating.
Apparently, dementia was starting to set in. For example, I was having dinner with my dad, and my dad asked me what I was eating. I told him I was eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, which would be fine, except I was eating soup. Another time, my mother watched in disbelief as I mistook deodorant for lip gloss and brushed it over my lips. Needless to say that I frightened everyone very much. The next day at school would be my last. I couldn't teach, I couldn't recognize my children or what I was supposed to be doing. At the end of the day, I could not find my car keys or my briefcase, so my coworker drove me home. We usually treat patients that have mild to moderate disease. What do we do in the developing world? What do we do in Africa? What do we do in India? What do we do in parts of China? What do we do with people that may not have access to such drugs all the time? And it's very, very difficult because we don't have right now available access to treat everyone.
We wanted to know how we could help.
If you have, starting with a role model and come on and say, this is true, this is one person, and then they will put a human face on the disease.
So more tests were done and more tests were done. 1 week later, the doctor and my parents set up a meeting for that, and it was our Black Friday. I think everyone's initial reaction can be summed up in 2 words: pure shock. Something this horrible is not supposed to happen to people like me. My dad asked me if I knew what was wrong with me. I told him very matter-of-factly, yes, I have AIDS. I don't think they have a cure for that.
Karen underwent experimental treatment. The drugs were not yet approved by the FDA.
And that was the time when these highly active antiretroviral therapies were used for what we call compassionate medicine.
Gendelman had been reading the story, but at the end asked Paris to finish.
3 days after receiving this undeniable death sentence, we received some much-needed good news. His name is Dr. Gendelman. My first big breakthrough was that Sunday. My niece and goddaughter was crying. I decided to lay her down for a nap. I picked up all 25 pounds of her and carried her up the stairs. 1 week ago, I could hardly walk, let alone pick up a baby and carry her up the stairs. In Dr. Gendelman, we found hope. What he gave us on that day was more precious than gemstones.
Meeting Gendelman and Commonier and hearing about their personal stories helped us understand that HIV affects real people. HIV has many faces. HIV is a school teacher from our city, a researcher from Africa, and a scientist who is always exploring new treatments.
What we want to do in life, I think most of the important thing what we want to do in life is to make a difference. If we're teachers or doctors or educators or we're out in manufacturing or even doing daily things or whatever we do, whatever we decide to do in life, we ultimately want to make a difference. We want to make the world a little better after we leave it.